Woo, message. This is professional wrestler Jimmy Valiant, the Boogie Woogie Man. Tell my people, my brothers and sisters, you're listening to Bell the Bell with Bobby Blaze.
Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update.
Hi wrestling fans and welcome to Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling.
Number 7, I don't know if I've ever met a nicer man in my life. I can honestly say that he was such a nice guy. Bob, and he was the many years the voice of the NWA. You know, he started with Crockett Promotions. I know it was in the late 50s for Crockett Sr. You know, he worked all the way through the 70s, the 80s. He was the voice of the Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. Hello, wrestling fans, and a sign-off. That'll do it for this week. We'll see you next week, and until then, so long for now. And he called the viewers fans.
Hi, wrestling fans. Welcome to Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. And we got an exciting hour in store for you this week.
When I got to my late teens, early 20s, we started getting that Mid-Atlantic and in syndication.
And it looked like Piper got something out of his tights. Piper had something in his fist, and he hit Briscoe. It's a roll of, it was a, wait a minute. He hit him in the jaw with a roll of coins. Now wait a minute, look.
There's no mistake. I am the champion.
All over the ring where you hit him with something in your fist.
That's people. People threw those in there. The winner.
He's out.
Who is the winner?
Ronnie Piper was.
You got that right.
And I got to become a fan of his because he did draw you as a fan. As a viewer, you was his fan. And I got to work with him at Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
Professional wrestling the way it used to be and the way you like it. Look at Blaze. Boy, he's showing you a lot of spunk right here and a lot of agility and quickness.
I always say Bobby Eaton, one of the nicest people you ever meet in professional wrestling. Bob Caudle was such a professional and such a nice man also. Always treated myself, along with all the talent that I saw coming and going through Smoky Mountain, he just treated everyone with such respect, and his voice was so respected throughout the South, especially.
Oh, fans, it's signed, it's sealed, it's all over now. The rock and roll and the heavenly bodies for the championship. We're going to be back.
When you was talking about Tony Schiavone, you know, south of the Mason-Dixon line, the same kind of with Bob Caudle. And he was taken so serious, and he treated the sport very serious also. And he never really took the heel side or the baby faces side, but he would definitely, you know, say that's just something, that's disgusting, that shouldn't be taking place.
They're doing something flame in the eyes and in the face of Garvin. Look at Garvin staggering, reeling and rolling around the ring in tremendous pain. I don't know what Cornette did, but all of a sudden there was a ball of fire right in the face of Ronnie Garvin. Jimmy, 2 questions. First of all, how is Ronnie, and why did Jimmy Garvin come to Ronnie Garvin's rescue? A very emotional Jimmy Garvin, and fans, we can certainly understand why now.
But he wasn't necessarily pulling for baby faces, you know, and he wasn't necessarily, you know, trying to stooge out the heels. He was just calling it like he saw it, and I think that's why a lot of people liked him. And he had a great interview style, too. Really easy to talk to.
Fans, right now we're talking to Morristown, Tennessee's own White Lightning, Tim Horner. Tim, I know you had a very successful tour in Japan, but I also know that you're glad to be back here on Smoky Mountain Wrestling, back before the home folks and in your own area and territory.
That's right. You know, when I come home, you know, I think of mountains because there's mountains all around us. And when I think of mountains, I think of Smoky Mountains. And now every time I hear Smoky Mountains, it's Smoky Mountain Wrestling. You know, and I really get excited about that because finally there's an organization who is going to allow the wrestlers to compete at a level that they're capable of competing in. You know, some of these other organizations, you know, and I talked to the commissioner earlier today, Bob Armstrong.
Right.
He assured me that Smoky Mountain Wrestling is not a body competition. It's not body
building,
body
muscle,
building. There
right.
you go. And it's certainly not a rock show. You know, some of these other organizations, you know, they want to hammer something into the people's head, if you get my drift. But, you know, I'm happy to be here, you know, and like you said, I just come off a tour of Japan. and I'm really happy to be here.
Fans, that's it from White Lightning Tim Horner.
I never forget Bob to treat me so nice. So there's that. That's why he makes it. And I wish I could rank him higher. I really would. But that's where I'm going to leave him at right now at number 7.
No, I think that's a good choice. And when we were coming up with this list, I almost shit my pants when I realized I hadn't even thought of him yet. And, you know, and then when I was like doing some thinking and reading and watching a couple quick clips on YouTube, that's when I realized that's where you get your use of the word fan. And I'd never put it together in my head before, because you use the word fan when talking about our listeners all the time. And I had never thought maybe where it had come from. And then finally I put it together. I'm going to put him up there with others that we're going to talk about. He was a sports journalist.
I was at WRAL-TV in Raleigh, and the Crockett's came up there. They were going to tape matches in the studio.
Were you doing wrestling?
I was not.
What were you doing at the beginning?
Well, I was doing news and weather there at RAL, and they needed someone to do a broadcast, and so I said, well, I'll try that.
Okay.
And I thought I wouldn't last very long, but it was some 30 years, and I was still there.
He sounded legit. He seemed legit. Everything about him was straightforward, no bullshit. Like you were saying, he didn't take sides, and his voice had the sound of authority to it. And he might be the only Republican that Jim Cornette likes.
Bob's the most personable, guy that you've ever met, but he was really into what he was doing. And JR did a production meeting one time, and he said, and Bob will be interviewing maybe the Doom or whatever. So you got Doom there, and you got Bob Caudle. He called him the epitome of a white man in brown shoes. Bob Caudle is that's what his appeal was. He's the average, everyday guy that, he would ask the questions that the fans, just the average fan, not the one of, was that a hammerlock or a flying crotch lock? No, just the average people. He would ask the questions or say the things that they would be thinking of asking or thinking of saying. And he was just a great personality and fun to be around. You would try to crack him up, but it was almost like he was so into what he was doing that it didn't really register with him that you were trying to be funny. And he and Dutch Mantell were classic, because Dutch would say shit that I'm dying on the monitor. And Bob, it's not that it's going over him, it's just going by him because he's into his thing. But Bob is great. And also, he at the Charlotte Fan Fest, I think 2 years ago, he was honored, and he comes every year, or tries to, and he came out. And it was almost like the professor on Futurama when good news, everyone, when he said, hello, everyone, and they just had that tone in his voice.
Read the book that has the literary and wrestling worlds on fire. Pin Me, Pay Me, Have Boots Will Travel, by accomplished professional wrestler Bobby Blaze Smedley. The incredible story of one man's battle to overcome all odds and realize a lifelong dream. Travel with Bobby in the ring, on the road, and around the world, including inside stories from WWE, WCW, Smoky Mountain Wrestling, and more. Forward to the book written by Jim Cornette. Buy your copy of Pin Me, Pay Me, Have Boots Will Travel on Amazon.com today.